Well, it's a terrible thing and a shameful thing, really, for our parliament that the Greens put up the amendment to that motion, an amendment that would have tried to sheet home the blame for this trouble to Israel and, in fact, was accusing Israel of war crimes. Were you disgusted that your fellow Teals, Kylea Tink from North Sydney and Sophie Scoms from Mackellar, sided with the Greens on that?
Look, I've been really clear that I stand with Israel and I stand, with my Jewish community in this absolutely terrible time. And I've been clear also, with those fellow crossbenchers, that I absolutely do not support that Greens motion. But I was not surprised, but pleased to see, obviously, that Kylea and Sophie supported the motion condemning Hamas overall, and I think that was absolutely the appropriate thing for them to do. But they have made their choices.
Yeah, but supporting that Greens amendment, a shocking thing to do, given you work so closely with them as fellow Teals. Were you surprised that they would back that amendment?
Look, we are all independent crossbenchers and we all represent our communities. And so I've been, I've explained to both of them actually, the impact that this has had on my community, which is, as I said, the biggest Jewish community in the country. And the impact, and why my Jewish community and why I'm so clear on on the stance that I have taken on Hamas, on Israel's absolute right to defend itself. And so that's really what I am there to do, is to really advocate for my community, stand up for my community, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Well, I congratulate you on that. It's the right thing to do. But obviously there were Jewish people in North Sydney and in Mackellar, and all right-minded Australians obviously would support this motion. So do you think that Kylea Tink and Sophie Scoms are out of touch with their electorates and they've let their electorates down?
Look, I think you should ask Kylea and Sophie that question directly. If that's your question. I'm very clear that on my position, and I think it's also and I think that they did actually support the broader motion, which was certainly appropriate. But it's super clear that I can fundamentally disagree with them in supporting that Greens amendment.
Well, there is a Teals movement. You are all grouped together to some degree. Do you believe that an action like this could actually do damage to the Teals movement?
Look, I think there's a community independence movement. I think the media has called us the Teals, and I think that for me, this really comes back to who do you represent, and I represent my community, and so that's really what I stand by. I've spoken to a number of Jewish leaders today, and I think they're very clear on where I stand and where I've been standing, since these horrific attacks took place, because my community is absolutely devastated, and not least also because of the anti-Semitic chanting and behaviour last Monday night in the Sydney Opera House, but also the anti-Semitic behaviour and attacks that my community has been under since those attacks in Israel, but actually more over a longer period of time. And that's really my focus, is how to support my community right now probably in the hardest time I think my community has faced for many, many years.
Indeed. Allegra Spender, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Chris.